Okay, hi.
This is so exciting. And I can't even imagine how many countries we've got involved. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm just going to make a very quick introduction to who we have in the on the team side. I am the one who wants to hide away the most. I'm the one who started this whole thing. This is our 4th edition. And I'm very conscious about any bias pointing towards me. This is about the people, it's about the films. It's about all of you folks. That's one of the reasons why I'm not hosting this event. I will be announcing a few favorites at the end. I obviously run the whole behind the scenes. That's as much as I want to kind of impose myself on this community. We have Teja, who's been involved actually 3 times in this festival, all except for the very first one, which was actually in London, UK, because right now Teja, Karim and I are all in Toronto. So Teja, aside from myself, understands the festival the most. And we have Karim. Give us a wave, please, Karim. Karim is a good friend of mine. Just to put it very shortly, in a very humble way, I did a bit of I mentored Karim in the past, filmmaking, a lot of online filmmaking things during the pandemic. Karim is a very creative photographer, and this is a little surprise for everyone today. For those who want to be involved, there will be breakout rooms, and Karim will be inviting anyone to take some creative pictures. It's something we experimented with last year. It worked out pretty well, so we hope to continue that for those who are comfortable. I don't want to talk too much. Teja, if you want to introduce yourself and take things on.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Taisha Shine Chang. I'm a theater artist and in Toronto, and I also wanted to do a quick land acknowledgement. Film Only Film Festival acknowledges that this event this year is organized and celebrated on the ancestral lands of the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Anishinaabe Nation, which includes the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation since time immemorial to today. And I would also invite everybody here in the room right now, and anybody who's watching the recording of this, to reflect on your relationship with the land that you're on currently. I can say that for myself, I'm a settler on this land, but I'm also a person who has been displaced from the original land due to the transatlantic slave trade. And so I would like everyone else to take some time to acknowledge that. Yeah, I think we're going to start with a little trailer for the film festival as a whole. Francesca, if you have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, thanks, Teja. Just a very, very quick note, just to clarify the name of the film festival, Film Only Film. It's kind of a metaphor, mainly 3-tier metaphor, partly for my profound respect. I'm not exclusive, I'm not biased towards celluloid, but obviously, because stories are stories, but anything that, when I watch a film, anything that is made on celluloid, there's that discipline that I respect. So I wanted to have at the deep, at the core, the origins of the cinema, which is a little over 100 years old, at the foundation of the festival. The only element mostly reflects kind of in a diminutive form the massive scale of filmmaking, the power, the leviathanic power that filmmaking has, while we're only making kind of little films. When I say little, let's put it into context. And I think there's also a massive humility masked. Most filmmakers, you amongst many, the messages are so much bigger, and we as people are so much bigger than the small films that we get out there, the differences that we make in the world. So I always try to aspire to make an event or make a message be much bigger than the actual medium that it is portrayed in. So that is Film Only Film, and yes, now we can go and I think most of you will have seen it, but we'll remind you all of the trailer for this year's film festival. right. Are you with us, Tasia?
I'm still here. I'm
You're
still here.
Awesome. So what we're going to do, I think the biggest difference from previous editions is obviously previously we screened the whole things during the event. We're not doing that. We're doing clips, and there are several questions. I would like to just say that if anyone participating in this has a question that they want to ask the filmmakers, please raise a digital hand. I don't think the question should be limited to what I want to ask. I think community can learn from the community, and you all are the community of filmmakers. No one is obliged to stand out. But obviously, I don't think that all of you present are necessarily either the director or the submitter of the films. So I think we're going to be doing a few call outs to see who is here representing what work, and that will be a bit challenging, a little bit challenging for us. So we'll do our best to be kind of, I guess, as inclusive as possible in terms of, but we're not going to recognize necessarily everyone. So please make sure that you stand out. And if you want to be photographed, communicate to Kareem. Yeah, but basically have fun. Right. Tasia. Is Tasia still in?
I'm still here. Sorry, I
Okay.
just don't have my video on, but I'm ready to screen the first if you are.
Right. I'm all ready. So the first one is Altavia, stories about the sky, earth, and sea. So let's give that a roll.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
Do we have the filmmakers for that? I know this was one of the films that wasn't screened. We have you. Okay, excellent, excellent. So we're just gonna, as soon as Tasia is ready, we're gonna just screen the trailer for that, and we'll open it up to introduction in terms of who you are, and then there'll be a question put out to you.
Ten seconds.
All is good. All is good.
Ma tu ti rendi conto che mi hai fatto fare 400 chilometri a piedi?
Per te che usi il monopattino pure per fare 200 metri.
È il minimo, scusa.
Capito, noi videomaker camminiamo, facciamo le riprese.
Altavia. Storie di cielo, terra e mare. Immagina un viaggio attraverso un territorio straordinario dove attimi senza fine, giorni mai uguali, misurano il tempo, disegnano stagioni.
Oggi mi trovo qui sopra Caprauna, sull'Alta Via, e siamo a quasi 1500 metri, anche se siamo in alto, dall'alto, in cima alle vie si vede, si può intravedere il mare.
Vado alla ricerca di prodotti del territorio, di storie di cibo da raccontare.
Oltre a questo ci sono tutta una serie di discipline meditative o sportive, sempre come mezzo e non come il fine, per poi spiccare il volo, dalla danza delle spade all'arrampicata sulla punta dei millimetri. È qualcosa veramente di magico.
Amo la primavera quando è tutto verde, amo l'estate quando è più scuro, amo l'autunno, ma è il posto più bello del mondo secondo me.
Ora immagina tutto questo e sarai pronto per partire.
Right. I realized that we didn't have subtitles on this one. So hopefully that is not going to be a major disruptor for most of the non-Italian speaking people. So I would encourage the present filmmakers to just maybe just give us a little bit about the theme first, and then going on to introduce yourselves, just for the benefit of those who didn't understand what was being said.
So, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. So thank you to be here. We are a group of 10-20 people from Liguria, which is in the north of Italy. And with our project, we try to present a part of the hinterland of our land with a storytelling technique. And the way we use was it has been so we met people and we let them tell us the story, them story, and through them story we try to present our land, which is not so new, and we would like to present to all the world which panorama, which opportunities you have. And we did also a part of fiction, so that's why it's a docu-film, because some protagonists are the one we met for real, and just a little part we wrote to introduce all the story, because we have like 15 protagonists, and there is one main character that introduce all of them. And he is a tracker, and he is also a video maker, and he tell to the public that he collect all the interview, and then he want to show us all the interview.
So what you're saying is that the main protagonist was actually made up, was actually written in as a fictional character to then collect all of the real people in the story. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is he really a video maker, or is he not at all a video maker?
Yeah.
He's an actor.
Yeah.
He is.
He's an actor, video maker.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was obviously the first person to watch this, and I didn't realize that. I think you completely sold me on everything. Felt really genuine to me, so I wouldn't have guessed that the main protagonist was actually an actor pretending to be a video maker. No, very well created. That was very clever of you. Very clever.
He represents me. He represents us.
Oh, that's clever.
No, because
Yeah.
we were closed at home during the pandemic, and the only things we could do is walk around our home. So he represents exactly what it happened to us, that we just start to walk around home, and we also discover something that we didn't know before, and we met people on our way, and so we want to show to all the other people, and he actually is the representation of ourselves.
Wow, that's sentimental. I think all of us have gone through COVID and taken different things from it, and I think some people try to escape ourselves more, and I think you're, in a sense, you were pursuing kind of a mirror version of yourselves to help you on that story journey. Very clever. I have one question out of curiosity. How long was the whole process of capturing it? It's about an hour documentary.
So it's around 2 years.
3 years.
3 years.
3 years. 3 years.
Because we start exactly in the middle of pandemia, and was not easy to go around and make the shooting, but because was open air location, we were allowed to go there. And then also, then of course the editing, the procedure to do everything is more around 2.5 years, starting from 2020, and put the end of the project around
December. This is in December 22.
In December 22. So it's 2.5 years.
Wow.
And it has been a teamwork of 10 people of the troupe, and more if you consider all the protagonists, which of course they are real. So there is a biker, there is an old farmer that makes cheese all his life long, and those are real people that we met during the way, on our way.
Wow.
And the way is a real way that you can walk, that it's 440 kilometers, and it's a real camino, as you said, Camino di Santiago, and it's a real camino that you can walk on. And everybody knows our land because of the sea and because of the famous Riviera. And we would like to show them what there is in the hinterland through them stories.
Wow. Well, I think you did that in a very compellingly visual way. And I also like the diversity that was included in the film. I think it was, yeah, it was a very touching piece. And I'm not being biased, you know, I was raised in Italy, but I'm trying not to be biased. I'm looking at it from a story point of view. But especially after COVID, it was a real escape film, I think, in many ways. But thank you very much for sharing that with us. And yeah, obviously we wish you the best for the future with the film and with every other endeavor you have. Just for those who, I think there might have been one or two, are there any new people in? I admitted a couple of people in. Towards the end of these presentations, anyone, even throughout, anyone who wants to go for the photo shoots, just message Kareem, ideally kind of a private message. And if you want, you can go in and have yourself photographed. For now, we can move on to the next one. I would like to know if there's anyone in representing Ming Mori, Searching for Our Land's Memory. I know that they're not based in, well, they're based in Asia, so I'm not sure. What we'll do is we'll play the trailer anyways, and if someone at some point comes through, then we can speak to them. If not, we'll move on. So Teja, if we can put on the trailer for Ming Mori, please.
西南亚族文化之前呢，还有4个史前文化：大笨坑文化、牛头者文化、大虎文化、鸟松文化。紧接着就西拉雅文化。刀柄上面呢有非常细致的人脸，然后每一张人脸呢都是呈现笑怀的这个状态。
所以它是一个贸易的港。
对，那它的贸易是非常兴盛的。
中断400年来，我们有机会练到我们的族语，写了将近8年就出版这一本了。这个价值哦是有钱买不到的啦。
Was that it, or did it get interrupted?
That was the whole trailer.
Okay. Do we have anyone representing this film? I think not at the moment, which is absolutely fine. The next film on the list is Holistic Conversations on Liver Wellness and Indigenous Perspective. Do we have anyone representing the film? Anyone who's willing to put a hand up? I'm not expecting everyone to be present. I know about the time zone differences. If someone comes in later, they can let us know. So I think we'll... Oh, we do have someone. Gary Hayes. Are you willing to speak about... And Kate Dunn, excellent. Are you willing to speak about the film? Shall we show the trailer first and then offer a question? Let's try that. So, sounds good. So Tasia, yes, holistic conversations on liver wellness, please.
We come together to talk about our health, to share perspectives, to listen and to learn from each other how it's important for us to connect to our bodies in a very loving way. This supports our healing of our mind, our heart, and our souls, as well as our body.
Liver is important. It generates the body.
Your heart, your kidneys, but the liver, it does such a function that it's important for us to realize we need to respect it.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
I take it that wasn't the complete thing, right?
Yeah, I think that might have been it.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much for this film. Please just give us an introduction to yourselves and to the film, and I suppose it's a compelling and important film, but why was now the best, or what was the most important reason for bringing it out now?
Well, good morning. My name's Kate Dunn. I'm originally from Mississauga First Nation in Ontario, and I work with Indigenous communities here in Alberta on public health awareness. And there's like rising rates of hepatitis C that are killing a lot of people in our Indigenous communities. The rates are up to 8 times higher than in the general population. And community members were asking me, how can we create something that increases awareness? Because right now the public health, gives us this pamphlet to read, but there's no pictures and we're not going to read these big medical words. So then nobody follows up with the screening or treatment. No one really engages because it's all this weird, this high level head knowledge. There's no engagement with the heart. So we spent about a year and a half working with Indigenous elders and knowledge keepers, asking for their perspective on liver wellness, and then through that shaped the script for this film on how we can increase awareness at the heart level of why it's so important to take care of your liver, because you can't live without a liver. And it's really integral to your whole body wellness. And it's important to take Indigenous knowledge sharing traditionally is done through stories. So taking the old way of sharing stories, mixing it with the new media opportunities that we have, pairing it with land-based visuals, and then sharing that story forward in a good way to shift from talking always about disease and disparity and all the bad things, and instead making it a story of wellness. And so this was really a kind of a passion project, because it was so motivated and inspired by needs from specific communities who are asking for this. And so when Gary and I were able to work together to create this as part of our PhD studies, but really in collaboration with an entirely Indigenous team, it was really life-changing, literally. I don't know, Gary, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you've said that beautifully. And yeah, the collaboration, really connecting with community, creating a tool for community, and then trying to talk about steps of what an impact would look like, not just hearing the message, but taking action and planning for testing. It's been great.
I know the film is quite recently released. Are you noticing, how well is it received by communities, and are you noticing a difference that I guess that the message has already got out there? Is that difference obvious yet?
Yes, I travel to Indigenous communities here in Alberta right now because I'm part of a provincial program, and a lot of times we'll share it as part of a community event, and then we'll have a table, a booth where people can come and get screened for hepatitis C. And before, there was almost nobody would follow up and get screened. And now when we share the film, we have a question and answer session after that. And over half, last week, actually 95% of the attendees lined up and get screened for hepatitis C. And one woman last week said, "This has literally changed my life I had no idea that I had something to live for anymore. But now that I understand my liver is important and I can be cured for this, and I have a reason to keep going. And it's like, oh, wow, that's exactly why we made this.
I think that is the explanation of what is success. I mean, what more can you hope for as success for a film? You know, that is the difference. But yeah, no, we are very, you know, privileged to have received this film, and you know, it's educated me as well. So thank you so much, both of you, and obviously the whole team, for presenting this to us. But you've made a difference, and you'll keep on making a difference, I'm pretty sure. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next on our list is Beyond the Trigger, and I'm pretty sure we have Ryan present here. You know what? Let's just play the clip or the trailer, and then we'll hear from Ryan.
One country, 6 locations, talking to local people about one topic. And why? To learn the reality and go beyond the trigger. Join me, Ryan, from independent wildlife podcast Into the Wild, as I journey through Namibia to learn about trophy hunting and what it means to local communities. A chance to hear voices that are often ignored by countries who discuss the topic and its future in the place that these people call home.
Thank you so much for joining me. This is quite exciting because this is my first chat. So how long have you worked for the Conservancy? How long have you managed it here?
All right. So this film completely compelled me in a number of ways, and I think the first thing that struck me was the topic is a heavy topic. You know, poaching. It's not something that anyone takes lightly, and yet you are I think you described it as a comedian, and you've got this kind of very neutral approach. If someone asks me, and I don't know a lot about it, but if someone asks me about poaching, my first reaction is like angry. And then I start kind of looking at all the negative side of things and what needs to change and who needs to you know, do what kind of activism against it. And of all the activists that I know in different fields, you're one of the people that takes it very seriously, but seriously with a complete twist of, you know, a comedic touch of humor, which I really think kind of helped me I guess not follow it, but enjoy the journey of the film. And then you manage to keep it, you are determined with your message, but you manage to keep it so neutral, which would have been impossible for me. Both the humor and the neutrality would be impossible for me. So please explain, how did you not get angry at the you know, for the topic that you were covering, and how did you manage to keep your composure and make it so compellingly diverse? Please.
I think, like you said, it's a very emotive topic. It's something you could stop anyone on the street and say, what's your views of trophy hunting? And everyone would have a view on it. And it's probably safe to say the far majority would have a view that they would like it completely gone. And it wasn't long ago that I shared those exact views as well, and to an element still have those views myself. But the point here is that the majority of people that have this view are not living in these rural landscapes in, for this example, Southern Africa. These people that we're hearing from are not, you know, not in the film, elsewhere, these opinions of wanting it gone are not living with elephants, they're not living with lions, they're not living with leopards and all these other species that we would like to save in, you know, the global north or the Western world. So my job and my team's jobs very much were there to listen. I just wanted to ask questions and listen. I think it's safe to say I probably would have been chased out of a lot of these communities if I started to give my opinions and views across to them. So I thought it was best I just keep my mouth shut. But then at the same time, it made sense when you were there. And that's something we really wanted to portray in the film, to show the landscapes that people live in, what are now called communal areas, which might not have been their ancestral root home through colonialism, were pushed into these areas, but it's where they've lived for a long time now with wildlife. So when you see these kind of vast areas where opportunities are very, very slim, it kind of made sense that hunting tourism, trophy hunting, conservation hunting, whatever we label it as, it made sense that it fit in some areas, in the same way photo tourism works in some areas, in the same way that forestry or agriculture works in different areas better. Trophy hunting just worked. And when you actually talk to the people that are living the impacts of it, both positive and sometimes negative, you get the idea of how what its future should be where you are. And this changes everywhere. You know, we went to 6 locations in Namibia, one of which was a private bit of land to show the contrast. But the 5 community areas will be very different than any other Southern African country as well, or you know, anywhere else in the world that trophy hunting, including the UK, which it takes place. So it's difficult to think of an animal being shot and killed. Absolutely, as someone that, you know, has been veggie for a long time, but at the same time, when you're there to listen to these people's stories and hear the work that they're doing to look after and protect species and keep that sustainability going for years, it just made sense.
I think when watching the documentary, you made it. I suppose one way of putting it is you made it seem so kind of straightforward. You saw an issue, you kind of flew out there, and you know. Told the story, put the message out there. What would you say was the biggest challenge you faced, either from the making the film, and B, the reception that you received while out there? What was the thing that was there any point where you thought, I'm taking the wrong approach, or maybe I need to do things differently, or maybe I'm not getting the result that I want, maybe I need to change things? Not that it was apparent in any way, but was there that moment for you?
I think myself and Oscar, the film's producer, had that more in the post-production, I would say. When we were out there, it was such a, and not sound too cliche, but it was just such an adventure. We didn't stop for 12 days. It was on the road, on the go, and you didn't really have time to stop and think. You kind of just had the camera out, and whoever we got to meet at each location, sometimes there'd be 12 people, sometimes it'd be 40 people, and you just wanted to talk to as many people. So it was really, really fast moving, which is kind of my comfort zone. So I kind of just, you know, I'm very extroverted. So put me in a group of people and I'll just talk away and catch as much as I can. It was coming back to the UK. And in the time of our post-production was also the time that the discussion of trophy hunting imports for the UK in our government, we were looking to ban those imports, which would have maybe not a financial impact on some countries, but it could send a message to the rest of the world, such as the United States, Canada, other places in Europe, to do the same thing, which then would start to have an effect on these people's livelihoods and stuff. So we were making the film during this time, and we were getting quite confused. We had to really try and remember what was our mindset when we were in Namibia, and what's our mindset now in the UK, where all this noise is going on. And when we're scripting the voiceovers and we're putting pieces together, you know, being 2 British lads, it's very easy to it's in our culture for our own views to start coming into the film, and we were like, this is not about us, we can't put this is not about us, it's about the voices that are in this film. And I hold my hands up to, you know, say this is very much part of the British way, is to make sure we're heard more than anyone. So that was our biggest challenge, I would say, is every time I wrote a voice, I wanted to put a joke in. Oscar didn't want me to put the joke in. He said it's a bit too far, and I was like, oh, come on. I wanted to do the false start at the beginning of the film. He didn't want to, and I twisted his arm. We put the false start in. So it was that kind of navigating. How do we, once we've got these conversations, some of which are very, when we're talking about poaching numbers as well, which is illegal hunting, you know, some of that was quite raw and quite real, and especially with the chats for the last conservancy, where they only have trophy hunting to rely on, there's no other income. That was quite an emotional chat, and it was like, how do we deliver that to a Western audience without letting our views or our kind of voice slip in there? It was those were the challenges. As 2 people that have never made a film before, we're podcasters, so it was a new way of working. So I would say that was probably the biggest challenge. Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed that, and I obviously enjoyed the British kind of elements of it. Obviously, I didn't know about your process, but I really associate more with being British than being Italian, despite I live in Toronto. So yeah, it's kind of there's that irony to it. But for anyone who's out there who's either watching the recording or present, and they kind of like your approach to it, can you just give us a verbal about where to find your podcast?
Yeah, so really, wherever you get your podcasts, if you just search Into the Wild podcast into Google, and it will come up. We're on Spotify and Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts and stuff. And we're going to be on YouTube a bit more. The film is on YouTube, and we're really our main ethos is platforming indigenous communities in any country in regards to wildlife management and conservation.
I think you might have a pretty good point. That I know that not all activists are able to be humorous, and not all topics. Well, in some topics, there's a very thin line between what is acceptable and not as within humor. And I think you're possibly one of the masters of that. I think you very sensitively, approached that line. You didn't go beyond it, and you kept kind of within your safe zone. I personally think that if different kinds of activism in the future have kind of a notch of what you have used, I think that could be potentially quite successful. So very well done on your approach.
Thank you very much.
I know that I did enjoy it. I was going to say, is enjoy appropriate? I enjoyed your film. I really enjoyed it. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Francesco, you're muted.
Oh. There you go. Biggest mistake of the day so far. Sorry about that. Looking into the chat about schedule, are you able to do that, Tasia? There was a little
I'm on it right
informal.
now.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Cool. Let's move on to we have the next. Is it distracting for you, Tasia, if you play the next film as well as sorting out the schedule? I don't want to multitask too much, but
No, I can multitask. Thank you.
Awesome. So the next film is a smallholder's voice. Is there anyone in from that film? Possibly not, but it doesn't matter. It'll make it.
Mais si je ne dois vivre que de la production de cacao, dans la situation actuelle, ce n'est pas possible.
You see how water is pouring from my skin? Because I'm searching better life.
Cocoa farmers are trapped in a cycle where they have to borrow money in anticipation for some revenue.
We need to start doing something right now before we end up with an empty country with no trees.
It has to be part of a hybrid strategy that involves smallholders.
Et ici, la durabilité vient même avec des contraintes supplémentaires qui vont augmenter les coûts. Et si le prix reste le même, ça ne peut pas aller. Ça ne peut pas aller.
So I'm just going to ask one more time if there's anyone here representing a smallholder's voice. If not, we will move to the next film. I think we'll move on to the next film, which is Space to Live. Is that you, Nestaran? Yes, excellent. So we'll play that. Sorry, you won't even see me. We'll play that, and then we'll hear from you. Is that all right?
Having seen some devastating global wildlife habitat destruction, I want to look into how my own life habits could be harming the wildlife I desperately want to protect. Why the green beans in my shopping look to be from Kenya? Can this potentially be a cause of animal suffering? To find my answer, I head to Kenya to see myself.
The capacity of the planet to support human beings involves how much biodiversity it has, because we're part of biodiversity and we're utterly dependent on biodiversity.
Hello. So, obviously compelling short documentary. Please kind of introduce yourself and the project. But I just want to put into that kind of two following up questions, which is first thing, you being a first-time filmmaker making this film. I know that filmmaking is no easy chore for anyone. There are levels to that, but it's never an easy process. And I'm just wondering if maybe it challenged you more than you thought, or if you found it easier than you thought. And the follow-up question is, I think your main profession is in medicine, and I'm wondering, were there any crossovers between your knowledge in medicine and maybe the ease of tackling this topic as your first in film?
Yes. Hi, my name is Mahsaran Rahmanwal, and my film is Space to Live. Well, yes, it's a completely different field, being in a bit of practicing in medicine and making the film is a very different, completely different subject. But I want to make this film because I found the topic critical to raise awareness about the problem. And that's my first film, and it was very, very hard process for me because without much experience, it was there were so many different challenges I had to really go through, and especially my film involved traveling. Well, I filmed in the UK and in England, and I traveled to Kenya, which was very challenging to do the whole process with. I took a cameraman with me, and it was not easy. And the film involved lots of interviews while I was in Kenya, with conservationists. Later, I interviewed some experts and scientists, which I had to do through via Zoom. It was right after COVID. It was last year, and it wasn't possible for me to travel to, United States or other part of the world. So, it was generally very, very challenging project.
Do you think this process has changed you as a person? Has it given you a different outlook on life, and has it encouraged you to maybe make more films in the future, or do you think, or is that a very selective process, anyways?
I think it's hard to say. Yeah, I certainly feel I changed a lot. It's a lot to learn through the process, and just understanding the industry. But I think I probably will focus on the film because I have a very important message in the film, and it's basically about human population problem, where it's hardly spoken of in any society, and I wanted to offer the solution in my film about other life choices that can help with the population crisis. And obviously, I want to show the impact of my own personal impact, how it would be on the foreign soil. That's why I went to Kenya. But I think it's hard to say, but yes, I definitely feel it, and especially seeing the reception for the film has been nice, but it's certainly a very, I feel definitely made some impact on myself and my personal life as well.
What would you say is something you would share to us that would be probably the biggest thing that you've learned in this process? And it could be technical, it could be anything. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned from this whole process?
Well, one of the very bad experience I had with the film, the first person I hired to help me with the film, unfortunately, and really be careful with the contract, what you're doing and who you're hiring, and really check the person's skill, how good they are with the filming and camera. Because while I was in Kenya, my focus, especially during the interview, was about interviews and make sure I get what I wanted to hear, speaking with the conservationists. But unfortunately, I missed on some part of the filming at the time, and I just trusted my cameraman can do it. Unfortunately, there were lots of problems at the time, which I had to later on fix it again. And I self-funded the film on myself, which means I had to re-record some of them later. I had to film again later, but that was when I came back to England. But fortunately, I had a very, very cooperative local fixer, Brian Kylo, the Kenyan, my Kenyan contact, and he really, really helped me with that. So it wasn't so much problem later. I found the solution finally, but I think it was not a nice experience at the time. but I brought the project back to life again at some point.
Excellent. Yeah, I think there are some compelling, questions that you're raising. Have you, you say that you've received some promising feedback from it. What would you say is kind of the most hopeful thing that, despite all the issues that you had making it, makes you kind of summarize that it was a successful project ultimately for you?
Well, it is. I think I've seen amongst the people there are activists similar to myself, and they're trying to, work for population crisis. They've been very, very supportive, and that really gives me hope for, there are people are really truly caring about the problem, and they are pushing the project. They're trying to support, but there are, of course, large number of oppositions for this topic as well, which is fine. I expect that, but I think there are a number of people that are truly helping, and one of the other challenge I have with the subject was as soon as I was mentioning to, for the interview that what the subject is about, and it's about population, lots of even conservationists didn't want to be interviewed because it will affect their reputation. They didn't want to lose their supporters, and they didn't, that was difficult. But again, the conservationists I spoke, I could finally, have in the film, which you watched the film from Mara Predator Conservation Program. They were very cooperative, and they completely understood the problem. And they're dealing with big cats, mainly lions and cheetahs, and recently with wild dogs as well, African wild dogs, or painted wolves. They deal with those big animals, big cats, where they're suffering. They have daily challenges because of the human wildlife conflict. So they knew the problem is because of this habitat loss, and what is really what is the driving force for that. So they were really good, but generally it was hard to get people to contribute towards the film in terms of interview and even speaking in the film.
I think everyone in this group, most of us are filmmakers, and I think we all know it can be very challenging. But I think the best thing for me as a filmmaker and as a film watcher is to see not only the resilience that goes on to make a film, and when it's a success that you manage to make a film, but just especially see when the filmmaker is hopeful and they say, well, it was difficult, but I made it, and I still intend to make more films. And obviously, I think I can speak for everyone. I think when your film is powerful, it's sensitive, it is controversial, but no good film is not controversial. I mean, let's be honest. And I think I'm one of many who would like to see more from you in the future. So thank you so much for contributing to this festival. And I was the first to really enjoy this, and I'm sure many others also did. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so let's move on to Sensei. So I think we do have some representatives for Sensei. Who do we have? Jill. Excellent. Oh, you're on the move.
I am. Hi.
Let's hope we don't.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear. I hope it's a safe thing to do what we're doing. While you're
I'm not driving. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, cool. So yes, I think we'll screen the clip of the trailer, and then we'll speak to you. Is that all right?
Sounds great.
Awesome.
My name is Nellie Olsen. I am the first person with Down syndrome when I got my black belt. My sensei is Sensei Heather.
She was the very first athlete with disabilities to compete for Canada.
I'm a champion.
I'm here with Sensei Nellie.
This year, I'm going for my 3rd degree black belt.
I feel stronger. If she has a bad day or a very difficult grading panel.
Good morning, everyone.
She might not be successful.
Side kick, turn shuto.
Do not give up. Keep it going. I can do this.
All right. So, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start, and I'll admit that when I was kind of putting questions together, I was challenged by this film on multiple levels, and I was challenged because I had too many questions to ask about it. So to make it fair for everyone else attending, I decided to keep it really, really short and to the point. But a theme that inevitably comes up and has been coming up already throughout the session today is that we've all been challenged by the past few years with COVID, and that was restrictions, and in some ways some people have massively benefited from it. Technology has advanced in various ways, and other people haven't so much. Even watching that trailer just now, aside from many things that really kind of caught my attention and that triggered my emotions, there was that multi-screen with all those images that we're seeing right now. Mm-hmm. Now, part of me thinks that must have been debilitating. It must have been challenging. It must have been really awkward. How do you perform martial arts, in that context? And there's too much of a separation. But part of me thinks if I was an audience going to a martial arts competition or anything similar to that, or if I'm remote abroad, I wouldn't be able to partake in something like that, and I wouldn't be able to see everything, in a sense, altogether. What was the approach like for you as filmmakers? Was that, were you kind of caught and restrained by technological limitations, or did you initially see that as a barrier and then immediately you saw kind of solutions? And would you say that what you've managed to achieve out of that is a success compared to when you first saw the challenges?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, there were so many challenges. And in fact, our initial storyline was to follow Natalie on her way to attempt to achieve her gold medal in the World Karate Championships in Dubai. But Sensei, when that shut down because of COVID, Sensei Heather said, well, she's going to be grading for her 3rd degree black belt. So we saw an opportunity to pivot, as you do, and use that as sort of our driving event. And yeah, I mean, as somebody who's been a martial arts practitioner for many years as well, like to watch this organization that I've spent a lot of time with, they're very traditional. It's karate after all, right? And to see them move to an online format for this, to recognize all the athletes that have been training despite all the challenges through COVID, like it just really warmed my heart. And it was so adorable because a lot of them aren't very fluent with technology. They're like, they can be quite a lot older, especially the very senior ones in the ranks. And it was just for me a testament to the human spirit for what we all went through and kind of kept going and achieved these kind of things that we didn't think we could do. So even though it wasn't as cinematic as I'd hoped for, I think it still had a lot of impact in terms of story and celebration.
I almost disagree with that. I think it was very cinematic, and I think it added to the cinematic nature of it in many ways. And I also think I can't help but observe that if COVID had not happened, things would have been very different for everyone, but also this film would have been very different. And I'm almost thinking, and I would like to know your opinion, if COVID had not happened and all of the shots were captured live with an actual camera, if I can call it, do you think the result would have been the same, as impactful, more or less?
I think we would have been able to focus a little bit more on Natalie herself, but I'm really happy with where we landed. I know our editor, and also editor and producer, Erin Luca, who couldn't be here today. She's traveling to Canmore as well. But she was the one who had recorded these on the Zoom calls on several different computers. So it was like a bit of a technological feat because we had different views that we were able to get into, so we could showcase, like the average participant couldn't see what we could essentially. So she had a whole lot of hours and hours of Zoom footage to sort of like put together. But yeah, like to show the scope and show everybody in doing all these things, like everything at the same time, we couldn't have achieved that with a single camera. So you're right, like it really did capture something that is quite different than something we would have had in person. And I think it is what it is. And I think that's what a film is. You kind of like plan it and plan it and plan it. And then at some point you kind of let it go, and it just is what it is at every different phase of its sort of life cycle. So yeah, no complaints.
Awesome. And finally, I know I focus a lot on technology because that was one of the key elements, especially in these times. Regardless of story, technology, or whatever, what would you say was a highlight moment for any of you in the team during the whole journey of making this film?
Well, it's so hard to say. It's so hard to say because being able to spend time with both Heather and Natalie, these two women, this is joy for them. Like they're living their best karate lives, and they love it. Like they live it, breathe it. And I mean, Heather's been a instructor for many years. Terrified me as a new karate student. I knew her way back then, and the two of them are just so happy and doing what they love that it's a joy to be around them, and they're so inspiring. They work so hard that it's hard to pick a specific moment, really. All of it. And also getting to know Conrad and his mom Teresa was also wonderful, because he's so funny and he's so dedicated and so excited about what he's doing, that it was just wonderful to be around them. Full stop. I couldn't pick a moment. I'm sure Erin would say her least favorite part would be the Zoom recordings, but I was watching because I know a lot of the people that were participating, so I had tears in my eyes going, cheering them on, but she was trying to actually capture it all. So kudos to her for doing that.
Are you saying that maybe from the martial artist point of view, Zoom is maybe less of an advantage going ahead? Because for me as an audience, I thought it was a plus point.
Yeah, I guess you can watch a bunch of different things happening at once. But certainly, I think to be together on the floor, there is a lot of synergy that happens when you are working out. And so you're kind of like trying to be faster than the person next to you, or you're trying to cheer on your friend, or, there's a lot of sort of in-person stuff that you just can't replicate for the participants.
I think you raise a very good point, especially the shutter speed of a camera. If you want to capture fast movement, Zoom is not maybe the best way to do that, but emotion is, and emotion was captured very, very appropriately, and needless to mention how it captured me emotionally on multiple levels. But terrific film, terrific effort, and congrats to the whole team. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure so many people on YouTube enjoyed it. So thank you very, very much to you and to the whole team for presenting this film and to offering it to us. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for having us. We're delighted to be at the festival, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
I should have started off.
Thank you guys for having us.
I should have started by saying Happy Mother's Day to all those in the American continent. Thank you for raising that. All right, so moving on. Okay, so again, we have a film that for copyright reasons couldn't be screened in its entirety. I think I shared a private link. It's Maka, quite a powerful film. I'm not sure if we have anyone representing Maka. If we don't, we'll quickly show the trailer and then move on. Any hands raised for Maka? Let's play the trailer, please.
Signor Presidente, prima di fare la mia domanda mi conceda di dirle che è bellissimo.
Riceverà un mio segno di gratitudine.
Geneviève Macaping, italiana camerunense non extracomunitaria.
Il primo direttore di un giornale, diciamo, posso dire, di colore.
No, rivendico la mia negritudine. Io mi sono un po' stufata di essere da sempre definita, rappresentata, marchiata dagli altri. Io sono italiana, sono calabrese, sono lombarda.
Ciao, ci vediamo per la strada, fra poco, ciao!
Sono camerunese, sono bamiliche. Io sono le molteplici lingue che io parlo, i molteplici luoghi che ho attraversato.
Guarda me. Io ti avrei sposato, te lo dico subito.
E mi sono sempre sforzata di pensare che le alterità sono sempre almeno due. E non ho sempre capito perché quando si parla di straniero, di altro, quell'altra, sono sempre io.
So if there's a quick show of hands for anyone representing this film, if not, we can skip to the next person. I'm not seeing hands at the moment, which is absolutely fine. Next film is When Pigs Escape. I don't see any hands on this one as well. We went online because the previous editions we had a few issues with time zones. And not everyone could participate, so we're hoping still this is you know, a format that works. Nevertheless, we'll try it. We're going to show this the trailer for When Pigs Escape, and let's see after that if anyone is able to speak about it. Yes, Tasia.
Two animal sanctuaries are pressing a farmer to give them a pig, which ran off into the woods to give birth. This story of a mother and her 10 little piglets is certainly catching the public imagination. However, the runaway was rounded up earlier today by its owner and taken back to the farm. But that's not the end of the story.
For a big multinational, the value of a pig to them is nothing. To us, it's 11 lives that we wanted to rescue.
The way the law is at the moment, Matilda and her piglets were property of the farmer, and it wasn't as simple as us saying we're going to keep her.
We needed to get this out in the public domain and get support and put pressure on the farm to let us rescue Matilda. We'd love to rescue all of the pigs. We can never do that, but these are 11 pigs that have got international attention, and you know, we were going to grab that. We were going to use that to save them.
Okay, for lack of hands up for When Pigs Escape, I think we could safely move on. We are, I think, halfway through the schedule. We can move on to Home, which is a film from Iran. Yeah, let's play the trailer from Home and then see hands up for who's present for Home. Sometimes I really want to speak to the filmmakers, even if they're not there, because every film is so compelling in its own way, and I think every film deserves representatives at all times. So I think at this point we move on That was mostly kind of a documentary section. The next section is more kind of the dramatized section. And the first of these films is The Wrong God, which also happens to be the only film that was submitted with the celluloid format. So yeah, we'll play the clip for The Wrong God next, right now.
Every day I wish to come closer to you on the other side. Yet God forbids I end my own life.
You pray to the wrong God.
Sorry, I'm late. I got the time wrong.
Don't worry about it. Time zones are complicated.
So I'm coming from Ireland, and I made The Wrong God kind of during the height of the pandemic for a filmmaking competition called Straight 8, which is affectionately known as the hardest way to make a film, because well, I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but what you do is you get a roll of Super 8 film and you put it in your camera and you edit the film as you shoot, and you then give them your roll of film and you edit your soundtrack blind and then hope for the best. And then they sync your soundtrack just from zero with your video. And the first time you actually see your finished film is at the event. So it was my first time shooting Super 8. It was my first time using the camera that I bought on eBay. So I was very pleased that it didn't just come back as a completely blank roll of film, you know. And yeah, I wrote it over Zoom with a friend in America who's a screenwriter, and we kind of wanted to, even though we knew we'd be editing in camera, we wanted the film to make it look like it had been edited. So we devised an idea that worked with flashbacks, basically, you know, voiceover and flashbacks. And at the time, I was trying to do something very simple, which was buy a sepia filter on Amazon, and Brexit was messing everything up and I couldn't get a sepia filter delivered to Ireland. So I had to make a sepia filter from scratch with like an orange gel. The effects are subtle and kind of hokey at times, but like definitely gave me something. Also, my composer said I was crazy for doing choreography in a film, dance choreography in a film that I would never see and that he would never see. And yeah, it was a really challenging and rewarding experience, but I'm looking forward to making my next, you know, Super 8 film with a little bit less kind of restrictions, you know. But and also I'm so sorry I'm late, and I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone else's films on the actual recording here. So yeah.
Right, okay. Quick question about the film, which was all of what you mentioned are definitely kind of challenges, but the thing that struck me the most, if I had to be put into the challenge that you were put into, is we all know that the elements change very suddenly, especially around the UK. And if you haven't got a chance at a second take, and if you're kind of editing in camera, and clearly there was a sequence that you were kind of building up in continuity.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say how did you control the weather, but how did you get around that aesthetic challenge of what if it does rain one shot? What if the sun disappears? Or what if these two shots are really important together, but the light looks completely different? How do you get around that in your mind?
Francesco, you are giving me flashbacks. You are like, man, in the run up to shooting this film, it was May, so summer, but Ireland. And the first shot of the film was the cross on top of a mountain, okay, which I could see from my the window of my apartment. I would see it every day, and I go, one day I'm going to make a film at that cross, right? The day before the shoot, I couldn't see the mountain because of the rain clouds. So I was terrified, and I'm going to call this thing off. I'm freaking out. The first shot of the day requires us to hike up a mountain with all of our gear and our actors in period costume, get this shot. Thankfully, it was sunny. And, I know what you mean, kind of from shot to shot. Yeah, it ended up being quite a sunny day. There was one sequence where it did just start lashing rain, and I kind of had a mini panic attack, but then we rushed through it, and then the rain came out, so I could have just waited. But I think from shot to shot, it was something that maybe because the film is so quick, it's such a short film, the shots, the cuts themselves, you're sort of counting 3 seconds, 4 seconds as you're rolling. Maybe it's the kind of thing that you get away with in certain shots, and there aren't too many scenes where you're kind of cutting back and forth. Like if you were cutting back and forth in a dialogue scene or something like that, you might notice the kind of the elements changing a bit. But we were lucky. The next day, I couldn't see the mountain again. The rain returned. So it was somewhat of a divine intervention. But the thing that I think that terrified me the most was because we were shooting in continuity, the first location on top of the mountain was about a half an hour drive from the last location at the end of the film. So my fear was that, we get to the last location and I, accidentally press record on my shoes or something like that. And what do? Do we go back and hike up the mountain and shoot again? So every single time I pressed record, it felt like life or death, So it was a ton of pressure. And like I said, I was really satisfied to do it, and that it came out like relatively, glitch free, I guess, for the level of challenges. But it's like, if I was to do it again, I would simplify things down a little bit for myself,
So not to say I don't trust anything you said, I trust entirely, but are you saying there was any cheating whatsoever in the making of it? No extra reels hiding somewhere, no extra safety? Was it literally as you shot it, you had it?
Like I said, that was my first time using the camera. My test roll for that camera was the film you watch today. You know what I mean? Like I look back and I'm like, I must have been living in some sort of like, pandemic daredevil kind of like, I just want to feel some sort of rush of adrenaline because I'll tell you though, the secret though, and the thing that also made the shoot take twice as long as it should have, I also had my digital camera with me. So I would shoot. So every time, so what we would do is I would rehearse with the actors, rehearse the action, then I would shoot a digital take. And so then after that, I would shoot my Super 8 take. But every time, the thing about the digital take was, you'd press record and okay, everyone in position, okay, and action. And actually, no, back to one, still rolling and all of that. But there was none of that kind of luxury with the Super 8 take. It was like, the second I press record, the actor needs to start moving. The second I stop recording, that's the cut point, So having the digital take allowed me to kind of pre-visualize it in the moment. But it also allowed me then afterwards, what I also did in the pre-visualization before the shooting was I storyboarded the film and I timed each storyboard on the timeline. So shot 1 is 3 seconds on Adobe Premiere, shot 2 is 5 seconds, etc. So then I kind of like, it was almost like a weird kind of painting by numbers kind of thing. So then when I came back with my digital footage, I would place in the digital shot over that storyboard. So I kind of had like a digital version of the film. And I always said like, hey, look, if the Super 8 roll doesn't work and, we'll still have this record of what happened that day, but it won't be the same, it won't be kind of like what I actually want people to see.
Did you use the digital camera a bit like a light meter as well, and just make sure that the exposure was correct, or was that not an issue?
No. I was able to look at the monitor on the digital camera, but I just because it was my first time using the Super 8 camera, I read just like tutorials and stuff online. They were saying like, if it's your first time using it, just go auto exposure, So, but I also had an ND filter screwed onto the Super 8 camera, so for those extra sunny shots, like I feel like it might have given maybe the clouds a little more definition or something like that. But
I just feel like I need to say that if there are any young filmmakers out there who are following this or rewatching it, auto mode is not the way to go. keep it on manual as much as you can, and that way you'll have more control over it. I think in Connor's exception, that's a valid point, but keep it on manual.
And absolutely, and I think that's kind of like the next, like I say, the next Super 8 film I make, I want to have just slightly less limitations that I can kind of like, afford to test out those manual settings and take more time with a light meter and stuff like that. But yeah, it definitely, it was one less thing to kind of like, worry about, was like setting the exposure for each individual shot. The thing that kind of got me as well was setting the focus for every single shot, zooming in, because it was the lens that I have on the camera. I think it's quite like a long zoom lens. It's like 10 to 100 or something like that, so you would zoom in, set focus, zoom out, and then kind of do your shot. So like remembering to do that in every shot was just like a very simple thing or a very important thing to kind of like, remind myself to do.
Just very briefly, I just want to ask one thing about the narrative, which is, I find it very dramatic. I find it very touching. How much of that, it's going to sound really silly to say, was it planned, but given all of these hurdles and all these risks that you underwent, did you find it relatively straightforward to attain that level of increasing tension? Because I actually found it, for 3 minutes, I was on the edge of my seat. I was thinking, for something that's shot for editing camera, anything can happen, but I might not get that emotional, cling point with characters or with anything else. But I did. So how much of that was, forgive me for saying this, but happy accident, and how much, or did your plan work out well?
Well, absolutely. Like, first of all, I really appreciate you having that reaction to it, and thanks for the feedback and the validation. That really does mean a lot, I think I definitely credit the actors a lot. The two actors that I worked with, they happen to be friends, but they also happen to be, pretty experienced in theater and in film and TV. So definitely I owe a huge amount to them. And then I think I had a very clear kind of vision for how I wanted the soundscape to be. And so much of it was in the music and the sound design and kind of the very like kind of heartfelt voiceover that we spent a lot of time writing. So I think it was definitely the intention, but probably a bit of a happy accident that we achieved what we intended to do,
For the result that you had, it had to be told to me. I had to read it that it was done, in camera and without the control, I guess, because it didn't really feel that way. So, for anyone attempting that, good luck. But in your case, I think it paid off really well, and it turned out really well. But yeah, just keep that mode on manual.
Thanks so much. And I'm sorry my webcam isn't working, but I'm smiling so much to hear all of your brilliant feedback.
Probably your webcam is on Super 8, so next time. But thank you for partaking, and thank you for because again, your film was the only celluloid film. It doesn't make it makes it stand out. It doesn't make it the most special, but it makes it stand out. But that adds that extra kind of technical diversity to the whole collection. So that we all, I'm sure, really appreciate. So thank you for being a part of this. All right. Let's try Lepas. Lepas will be the next one. So yes, Teja, let's go for Lepas, please.
Darah berjatuhan dengan deras, dan aku pun jatuh. Di mana ada lorong bernama luka, cahaya berkejaran mengarah ke sini. Aku jalan menabrak larian mereka. Udara yang segar aku menciumnya. Ciumanku membuat bunga-bunga bermekar, dan kupu-kupu berterbangan. Aku akhirnya bernafas.
I think this is a bit of a time zone issue for this film. And yeah, I don't think anyone is here to speak for it. Fair enough. The next film, ironically, Avery is, I think, our only under 18-year-old filmmaker. So I think we can skip and yeah, let's play the clip for Avery, please.
Give me 1 second.
In the meantime, if anyone hasn't been photographed yet, go ahead and do so. Are we missing audio?
Sorry, is there no audio?
No, I think you just maybe missed out clicking on the share audio.
1 second.
I think I missed out on audio at that time, but not sure if anyone else heard.
Was there no audio again?
Don't worry. There was no audio. No worries. Do we have anyone from that film? The film was available on YouTube with audio, I assume. So I think anyone who wanted to would have heard it. I think in the interest of all those present, I think we can move on. We are coming to the last section of the films. So the next film will be The Secret Life of Mrs. Dianthus. So let's put a roll on that one, please.
Hallo, hier. Hilf uns.
Das ist doch Dianthus Gratiano.
If only I could have every single filmmaker from every single film in one place at the same time. If only. But I'm very happy with what I have anyways. So I think I don't see anyone from this film. So we can...
yeah, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, we do. Excellent. So thank you for being here. Yeah, very compelling in the way it was so short. That was kind of a surprise for me. And if I'm honest with you, I would have enjoyed it being 15 times the length of it. So I would like to tap into a couple of things now. I don't tend to, as a filmmaker myself, I don't tend to ask questions about budget too much. But in this situation, I am going to ask you, and you can only answer whatever you feel comfortable with asking. But I can't help but notice that for such a small, what was perceivably a small-scale film, and certainly a very short film, there was quite a big budget at disposal that you listed. So I'm just wondering, what was the process of that? And if you don't want to answer that, I can ask something else. But that intrigued me.
No, I can answer that. It was a film which consisted of 3 parts, like for 3 different audiences. One approach was humoristic, one was kids, and one was like for adults, like the educating way. And it's for a nature reservoir, which is near my place, or the place where my film company is based. And yeah, the budget was around 15,000 euro, actually quite high. Well, for such a short film. And hikers can, they're like, I don't know, QR code surrounding those places where they have those protected plants, and so hiking the short film. That's how
the line was a bit interrupted.
It's implemented here in my area.
I don't know if you can just repeat. Was it just me, or was it others? The internet connection on one of the sides isn't as strong as it could be. So please just repeat the sentence. Maybe just for me, but
the last sentence, or
let's just make it simple. Just if you can, please repeat the answer, because the connection is a little bit broken on my side, at least. The connection is very broken.
Yeah, better now? Oh no, I'm sorry. I will,
vocal-wise, it's a bit better.
I will go to a different room. It's just not the best.
And I don't want to put you out of your way, but I think we're all very intrigued by the answer.
Is it better now?
Much better. Audio-wise, much better.
Okay. Okay. So shall I repeat everything?
If you don't mind, yes, please.
Okay, so I said it was the budget was like 15,000 euro, but it was for 3 films. So it was we had like different approaches. One was humoristic, one was for kids, and one was like the educational way. So we had like 3 of those short films, and what you saw was the in quotes humoristic thing. So it's implemented in a natural reservation, which is near the place where I am based with my film company. And there's a QR code and signs that hikers can photograph, and so they can watch the short films. And it shall prevent, like, if you have seen the short film, it shall, or if you haven't seen it, it shall prevent that hikers go to certain places in that natural habitat here where protected plants grow. So yeah.
I personally find that maybe sometimes schools, because I think the one that we saw was kind of more aimed at the school kind of age. it's a debatable topic, but I don't know how much, if enough, schools raise the topic with kids about endangered species and climate change and things like that. Did you have any intentions with this film to try and, I guess, for lack of a better word, penetrate the kind of the school or the educational circuit with some extra awareness for the young people, and maybe to inspire the educational sector to pick it up as a more important topic?
Mm-hmm. Actually, we did not so far. It's like my film company is very focused on that issues, like on climate change. We're doing a cinema documentary right now, which is called The Story of a New World. If I can make a bit of advertisement here. So this, like, it's our main focus to have like those topics, and but actually I didn't think about like having that film in schools. It's a nice idea. Like, it was for us, it was a I can say a side project, but I really liked it because we are mainly focused on documentaries, and it's I'm more a documentary filmmaker, and this was like a little excursion to a bit of fiction. And yeah, so we enjoyed it, but because it had also, we produced it for someone, so for this natural conservation company, we did not distribute it apart from trying to have it on some festival, to be honest.
I think the outcome was very good. I would, if I were you, I hesitate to use the word fiction, because although you did incorporate the animation part of it, it's actually more real than it could have been, and I think that's what makes it really, really powerful. And I think young people have a different kind of relationship with fauna and with the flora than adults do, and the awareness needs to go to them as young as possible. So I think in many ways, I can see how you dramatize it, but in many ways it's more of an observation of reality than a piece of fiction, and I think in that way it works really, really well. So I'll say congrats to you, and well done on the film. Try to make them longer. I'm joking. I did feel watching it, I thought, where's the rest of it? I mean, I was so compelled, I was pulled into it, and the effects and everything, they work really well, and there's that kind of little conversation, that dialogue, that kind of that starts, and but yeah, very well done. A great.
Thank you.
Although probably we didn't see the other parts of it. I think as a was it the first part of the three?
Well, there's no like.
There's no order.
There's no order. It's just like there are different recipients.
Yeah. No, well, very well done.
Thank you for having us with it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're more than welcome. So, let's go for the film Falling. Yeah, and we'll invite whoever else is available for Falling.
You could never see yourself like I do. A painfully aching beauty so disconnected yet true. Did you feel it too? Me longing for you?
I just don't know why we have to have this conversation.
Because this matters to me and I want to have this conversation. And then it was all over. Just like that.
So is there anyone here for Falling? In that case, I think we will move on. We've only got about a handful of films left to present. So the last is it the last? It's the last category is animation. It wasn't always easy for me to kind of categorize because some of them fit into multiple categories. But we definitely received a bunch of very, very diverse animations. And each of them were very, very touching. So the first of the animations is for Meridiana. And yes, we have you, Alicia. Excellent. So we will play the clip that we have, and then we'll speak to you.
Sorry, one second.
All right. A very, very, very sweet and touching film. I know that you're not a first-time filmmaker, although you might be a first-time animator, but I'll let you kind of expand on that. I think you also do illustrations, or you do children's books. I'm really compelled to know what was your approach for this one, for this short film. Why you decided to make it an animation. And I guess most people have a vision kind of an outcome. Did the vision match, or did the result match the vision? Was there anything you had to sacrifice on the way because you're a multi-talented artist? What was the journey like for you?
So honestly, I always liked animation. It's not like something that I was planned to do because I don't think I'm such great as like an artist. Like I don't do illustration for the first time that I actually do some kind of illustration. And I usually like just stories, and I love stories for kids. So I try just to combine those two. At the beginning, it was like planned to search for like an illustrator and let them make the drawings. But at the end, I was like, no, I just want to try that, and I tried that. That was basically that's it.
I mean, when it comes to, I mean, you did the illustrations, and obviously, I presume that you previously done illustrations that are not in kind of animation sequence for books. What, I mean, I guess where did you learn to actually put an animation together? Because when I watched it, I read that you were a first-time animator, but I knew you weren't a first-time filmmaker. But how did the necessary skill to realize the project, how did it come to you? Was that were you relatively quick at learning that, or was that kind of more challenging than you anticipated?
It was more challenged than I anticipated, for sure. I actually, as I said, didn't know exactly how to make an animation. So before I started to study everything I found online, I bought books, I read them, I tried to follow even like a little bit of a course that I found online. So yeah, it was really long. And while I was learning, I was making like so many mistakes. So I think the first 5 seconds just out of the films, I draw them like, I don't know, so many times. And yeah, after a while, you start to luckily learn it a little bit more. So yeah, it was really difficult. But actually it makes me appreciate it even more animated film, because I think it's such a long process that involves so many peoples, that is actually really like amazing how they make it. Like I really appreciate it more.
And I personally think the result was very sweet, and it was very nice technically. But watching it, I had to read about you, because watching it, it wasn't kind of a first-time filmmaker's piece. But given the challenges that you went through, do you see yourself pursuing animation, or do you still kind of revert back to the live action kind of film? What do you think is, despite challenges, what do you think is the medium that you feel most kind of comfortable going ahead with?
I would like to keep going with animation. I think I love to write stories for children. So yes, for sure, I will like keep going it. I don't know if I will draw an animation again. I think in that case, I will try literally to hire as many people as I can and make a really good animation, only because I think I never studied arts. Like I studied arts, but not like animation and movement techniques in my university. So I think you can see that it's not like a project, a film made by an expert. So yeah, I think I should have hired an expert maybe.
I think you're downplaying yourself a bit too much. I think you need to appreciate yourself a little bit more. And I think what intrigues me is what have you learned about yourself the most throughout the whole process of making this film? How have you changed the most?
Well, as I said, I will never consider anymore animation an easy kind of way to make a filmmaker. I think filmmaking, I think, is the hardest one, and not because it was hard for me, but because it literally like you need to think about a lot of things that you usually never think of when you do live action film. So I learn more. I think it's even like a nice way to maybe you use what you learn to make also a live action film. So sorry for my English. So I think I grow, and I will definitely use everything I learn to make maybe another live action short film, that's for sure. Yeah, I think I answered it.
Yeah. I think it's the heart that matters the most. I mean, I personally think the animation was really nice, and the story was really strong.
Thank you.
But I think it's the heart that really reflects the project overall. And there's definitely heart in that film, and I think I can speak for everyone to say that. Yeah, I think the outcome is beautiful. It's very touching, and well done. Very well done.
Thank you.
Excellent. Now you can hear me. There we are. Right. I have the next animation is a lasting image. Wonder if there you are. So we'll do the little clip, and then we'll speak to you, Christine. Excellent.
When people ask, how do you survive?
I'd like to describe your day in Auschwitz.
Misery, beatings, disgraces,
Gestern.
I would say, however, it hides something
Very compelling animation. So I have who is it? We have Anna and Christine, I believe.
Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, this was more I'm not going to say dark, but it was more profound, I guess, than I anticipated kind of going into it. And I think there's a very interesting I'm not going to say unseen, but kind of not even unusual, but something I haven't seen before, technique-wise, that was used. And I think when it comes to group projects, the first thing that compels me the most is, how do you divide roles and who offered kind of what skill to bring out the outcome. And also what interests me, so I'm putting out all the questions in one go, but you can answer them in whatever way you like. Why that specific testimony? Was it something that was more personal to you? Or was there a different reason that it stood out and that you chose that to make the film about?
Well, I'll start. So first of all, thank you for having us. We're thrilled to be part and to be among other great filmmakers. It's really exciting to see all the films. So our film is in the context of the university. So I actually teach animation and I have an experimental animation lab. And I invited 3 of our students to come and work with me in this film. And that's why in the end, it was such a close collaboration that we decided, okay, we're all directors and we're always throwing ideas from each other's and getting inspired by one another. But the film started because on our university, we are at the University of Texas at Dallas, we have a very important Center for Holocaust Studies, is the Ackerman Center. And Dr. Niels Romer, the director of the center, invited us to come and think about possibilities of animation. And it was very challenging because the themes about the Holocaust, the testimonies, and we are all very overwhelmed in a sense because we wanted to honor those stories and find a connection with us, right? Not being from a Jewish background, and what is the responsibility in portraying those stories as well. And then we find this connection because the director of the center, that the first director, Dr. Zuzana Osvat, she is a Holocaust survivor. And then we started researching her book, but also her testimony at the Shoah Foundation, and 8 hours of testimony, right? And to be able to pinpoint different aspects. And finally, we found a short segment and said, I think this would be very compelling. But also we had a challenge because I only had the students for 1 semester. So we really had to animate in 1 semester, and we started from scratch. We actually started the discussions in December 2021, right, Anna? And then we went to we had to end by May 2022. So it was really challenging, and that's why the film is also very short. But I'm very excited that Anna is here and can offer right the perspective from the students, but also the animators in the short. Yeah, so perhaps Anna can also answer part of your question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Can you repeat what your question was exactly? Because there's just a lot of information. I want to make sure I answer it correctly.
I think it's about the process and the approach, and I think the 2 main leading questions were how the group approached the theme, and why that testimony, and I guess why this is what I'm adding. Why is this the right time for that story to be told? Why do we need to know about this now?
Okay, yeah, of course. So, like Dr. Veras had said, she had approached myself and a couple of other students to work on this independent study to get credit for our university. But we had also all shown interest in wanting to tell a meaningful story. We knew it was going to be in collaboration with the Holocaust Center, so we had to decide what is our part in telling this story. Like, what is our right of telling the story, since none of us ourselves were directly affected by the Holocaust or have family. So we came up with 3 different storylines we could follow: either the stories of the victims, perpetrators, or bystanders. And we did originally want to get a testimonial from all 3 to hear the 3 different sides, but we ultimately decided we wanted to focus on the roles of bystanders. And again, like Dr. Vera said, we decided to go with the story of Dr. Oshwath, who is the founder of the Ackerman Center at our university, and we decided that's the one that we're going to tell. And me personally, I really found the meaning of our story to have such an effect on me, because I think it is important. And in case no one has seen it, the meaningful impact that our story has is the quote from Dr. Ashvath when she looks at her brother while they're being marched through the ghettos in Hungary. Was it doesn't matter how people feel; it matters what one does. And that was just, profounding to me because that everyone can be a bystander at some point, and it's important to do something when you see injustices. Um, so it was kind of relevant at the moment of filming, when the Black Lives Matter movements were going on here in America, and still continue to do, and even more recently, like the war in Ukraine and Russia. It's just you can feel a certain way, but what really matters is your actions. Um, so yeah.
It was really exciting for us that one of the first festivals that actually chose our film was actually a festival in Ukraine. So we were extremely honored by that because there are so many correlations from what happened and what is still happening right around the world. So we were pleased to see that the message of the film, which is a strong message, but it's still resonating. So it's more about human rights, right? And in that way, it matters to all of us.
Wow, I mean, thank you both for expanding so much on that, and I think everyone is going to get something different out of it, regardless of your background and your personal, connection with history. There's something in it for everyone. Just for the benefit of any animators out there, what was the animation approach? Please kind of also expand a bit on how much did you personally have to do with the animation, but also any challenges that arose, anything that turned out different than you expected it. Did you just set out to say, I want to be an animation? Was it always intended as animation? And what generated the animation in the style that you did it?
Well, I can start. So it was always intended to be an animation and focusing on animated documentary. So we had a storyboard and we planned scenes. The film was longer originally, and we ended up cutting some scenes for the sake of storytelling to help it flow better. But it was also, and that was the challenge that the students were up to, is that it had to be traditional processes of animation. So it had to be hand-drawn, right? So Anna was there, right, animating pages and pages of the walking and right through the mud and slush and blood. And we also had another student who built for us a multi-plane so we could animate in different layers. We also use paper cutouts and different techniques to do drawing, charcoal, and yeah, so things like that. So this combination that actually helped to reinforce the look of the film, but also connect with the theme. So perhaps Anna, you can talk about the scene that you animate, but also the research right behind
Yes.
that. Yes.
So I was in charge, in addition to animating, I was in charge of doing some of the research processes. So I got in touch with the Ackerman Center and got a whole hard drive full of photos of Dr. Oshboth's life from when she was a child to present day. So we based our characters off of those photos that she had. So her brother, and just in general, what the architecture looked like at the time. I had to research different photographs again of what Hungary looks like at the time, the ghettos that they were in, take those pictures, edit them, because of course they're copywritten. So I had to edit them in a certain way that was still realistic, but also artistic, to go with our style. And I did the walk cycle that happens as a part of the story, of children and people walking by, and that's done with traditional animation. So I had close to 200 individual pieces of paper that you flip through to make the walk cycle go by. I did that one by hand. Mostly paper cutouts were used and a little bit of digital animation to an extent. Photoshop editing certain scenes. And it was really cool because Dr. Veras founded the experimental lab here at our university and encouraged us to try different methods and blending to create this unique style that we tried to follow throughout our film.
Yeah, I mean, I was compelled and touched on so many levels, and I just, you know, just to kind of credit what we're doing right now as a festival, I think I don't think any film should be released anywhere without interaction with the filmmakers, because sometimes perceptions can be different. Sometimes, you know, the audience thinks something else, and I think the voice is of the filmmakers, and they have the right, if not the need, to actually be there to represent whenever they can their work, and some things are best left as mysteries, but you know, when the voice is so important, this is what you're doing justice to your work and representing it fairly, and congratulations, very well done on that.
Thank you.
So let's move on to Unfolded. If we have anyone in for Unfolded, Tasia, please play the Unfolded trailer for us. Again, if I wish it was longer, but do we have anyone for Unfolded at all? Very compelling film. Okay, so very very short film. Guardian of Nature will be the next, still in the category of animation. So yes, please, Tasia, let's see Guardian of Nature, please. That was another of the films that was so short, I think it was difficult to find a trailer or a clip. That was most of the film there, but there you go. Another very compelling climate change, well, no, not really, pollution kind of related film. If there's no one representing Guardian of Nature, we can move on to screen a clip for Once I Passed, and that is the third to last film that we are presenting today. So yes, Once I Passed, please, Tasia.
Once I passed. I passed through a populous city, imprinting on my brain. For future use. It shows architecture, customs, and traditions. All else
All else. I remember. All else has long been forgotten by me. I remember only the man. All else has long been forgotten by me. Wandered with me there. All else has long been forgotten by me. All else has long been forgotten by me. For love of me.
All right, let's see if there's anyone. In that case, we will move to the penultimate. This is Our Land, a Blackfoot graphic novel. Yeah, we'll play the clip for this.
Kiani Ihkadapi Nimakoi into the spirit world.
So, how do we find Ni Inikawakoi?
I think Aniyok.
Ane, is that Ni Itsinik City you've been telling us?
Except my honesty. They're in the wrong order. Oh, Gimat, look! Ixogapi.
The gods opsip.
Gennaye. We were right.
This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Nixat sit the beat.
And do we have anyone for this film, for This Is Our Land? After this, we have the last short film to present. So I think we'll just move to Hit and Run, being our last one for the day. I assume everyone is still awake. And do we have anyone for Hit and Run? So, yeah, obviously a dream is to have everyone speak about all their films, but I totally appreciate that's not possible. Yeah, that wraps up the selections that we had, and the reason why this film festival was started was really to appreciate the community of filmmakers, to appreciate everyone's efforts, partly to also reflect that very few filmmakers, not very few, but certainly myself, submitting a lot of films out there and often hearing nothing back, and even the first experiences that, you know, there are plenty of scarring moments as well as plenty of joyful moments, and I'm just hoping in a very humble way to give a little back, and I get a real kick out of seeing everyone's work and discussing them, and that is why it makes these events so much fun for me. I personally don't believe in what is best. How do you judge art? There is no notion to that. I mean, there are results that come out better than others, and that's why since the very first edition, I've never adhere to, the kind of the best film here and there. What I prefer to do is, what did I think stood out and what did I think was a favorite per category? Even that is very, very difficult to decide. Every film has value. Every film has different layers of values. Every filmmaker had different challenges to overcome. Every filmmaker's journey was different. Every film has a different meaning and has different purpose and seeks to make a difference in the world that we live in. Nevertheless, I have a short list of favorites per category to read out. The full list, which includes nominations, will be listed on the website. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do 4 announcements per category, and that is, I don't see it as best to worst. It's not like that. It's the 4th place is kind of more like a special mention for various categories, and then we have kind of a, if you like, a bronze, silver, gold, if you like. But I don't even think of it as that way. I just think of it as, when I was watching them, what stood out to me and my judging colleagues, who not all of them are present here. Watching a film is a very, very different experience for everyone who watches them. But I didn't want to have a film festival without kind of having a conclusion for filmmakers to leave with. So that is what follows now. So I've categorized them, not in the order that we screened today, but I've categorized them by theme, I guess. I changed it slightly from what they were submitted as. So I'm presenting them as documentary, alternative abilities, fiction dramatized, indigenous/racial awareness, climate and animal welfare, animation, experimental, LGBTQ, and one of them is an overall favorite as well. So, and I don't want the following listings to reflect everyone's skills. I think it's individual accomplishments. And it's I think you can tell how challenging it was for me to come up with this list, but because you're all here present, I'd like to celebrate in some shape or form. So under the documentary category, we have gone for special mention, which was under sanction category for Home. For lack of a better way of saying it, 3rd place, we're going to go for Altavia. We go 2nd place for When Pigs Escape. And I know that there was issues with what films were screened in their entirety. In documentary goes to Maka. I think I reached the fiction / dramatized section. So Connor, you came in at just the right time to hear yourself, take number 1 place in fiction dramatized. I'm just going to continue going through that list, and I will remind everyone that I personally consider that a category nomination is, as close to an award as can be, and there were definitely category nominations are above an official selection, and they will all be listed on the website once I get around to it after this event. So the next category is Indigenous and racial awareness. So going down to special mention for a smallholder's voice. 3rd place, holistic conversations on liver wellness and Indigenous perspective. Down to 2nd place on This Is Our Land, a Blackfoot graphic novel, and number 1, Ming Mori, Searching for Our Land's Memory. Climate and animal welfare. Guardian of Nature takes special mention. 3rd place is The Secret Life of Mrs. Dianthus. 2nd is Space to Live. And we went for number 1 to Beyond the Trigger. Animation, next category. Special mention down to Once I Passed. 3rd to Guardian of Nature. 2nd to Unfolded. And 1st to, kind of in brackets to the Remembrance theme, to A Lasting Image. We devised an experimental theme as there was in the submissions categories. So the special mention in brackets, kind of the youth category for Avery, third to Lepas, second to The Secret Life of Mrs. Dianthus, and number one for Home. The LGBTQ plus category, second place to Falling, number one to Once I Passed. And as difficult as it was to bring out an overall favorite, just for a number of different reasons, we went for This Is Our Land, a Black Folk graphic novel. And we kind of hope that encapsulates, I guess, the festival overall. So I did not read out nominations, which will be listed on the website, but they are pretty much as important as any of the favorites. You will all be receiving certificates. I'll be sending them out as soon as I can. I didn't manage to get enough admin work done leading up to this festival, so I'll be spending the next few days trying to do kind of paper justice to all of you. But I was incredibly touched by basically every single submission, and just the official selections were kind of impossible for me to get to. And then, you know, reformatting this festival to be online, because I think that does the best justice to everyone around the world. So I personally kind of, I feel incredibly humbled to have all of you be a part of this, all of those who managed to, you know, join us live. I owe you a massive debt of gratitude. I thank you for your films. I thank you, I guess, on behalf of all the audience, for the messages you've given us, the sort of comfort, and also the sense of, you know, what you all went through to make your films. Most of you have spoken about challenges that you overcome. I know firsthand how hard it is to make a film. I also know firsthand how sometimes you just want to give up and say, is it even worth it? And are people going to recognize this effort? Are they going to, you know, understand it? Is the message, you know, right for them? And there's no answer to that. Each individual has their own perception, but you folks have all made a film, at least one, made me have a real hard time selecting, but together we've formed this community, and we've got together, and I think you've done the best you could have possibly done to honor the festival we have. So you all deserve a pat on the back. So that is that from my side. I hope you have all been taking advantage of Kareem in terms of we would like to use in social media images of you in some form. So yeah, that's from my side. If anyone has any comments that you want to raise, or any anything at all, any feedback whatsoever, you're most welcome. But yeah,
thank you so much.
From my side. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for putting it all together. It's brilliant.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome.
Thank you.